The lights on Europa flickered as the first blast hit. It wasn't loud at first, just a deep tremor that shook the ground like a giant was walking beneath the ice. Then came the screams. Dr. Lisa Harper had been stitching up a wound when the ceiling cracked open. Dust and glass rained down on her hands. She looked up to see patients rolling off tables, nurses falling to the floor. Outside, the sky burned red with fire from above. "Get them out," she shouted, pulling a boy off the table and lifting him into her arms. He couldn't have been older than 10. His leg was still bleeding, but there was nothing more she could do here. Another explosion rocked the building. This time, part of the wall gave way. Cold air rushed in, along with smoke and noise. Somewhere close by, an alarm began to scream. This wasn't supposed to happen. New Hope was a medical colony, not a military base. They treated people, they didn't fight wars. But someone had decided otherwise. Harper ran through the hall, dodging broken equipment and fallen beams. Others followed, some limping, some crying. A nurse named Sam tried to hold a baby tight while running. The child didn't cry, maybe it was too scared. They reached the back exit. Snow and wind met them like a slap. The clinic sat near the edge of a frozen lake, surrounded by white silence. Now, that silence was shattered. In the distance, ships hovered like dark clouds. They weren't human. Their shapes were wrong, too smooth, too sharp. Flashes of green light came from them, each one striking something below. Hospitals, labs, supply centers. Not soldiers, not weapons. Healers. Harper dropped to her knees in the snow, still holding the boy. Behind her, the clinic caught fire. She watched as everything she'd worked for went up in flames. Then the radio crackled in her pocket. "Anyone out there? Is anyone alive?" She pulled it out with shaking hands. "This is Dr. Harper. I'm alive. What's happening?" A pause. Then a voice, weak but clear. "It's happening everywhere. They're hitting every medical site. Mars, Titan, even Earth. They're targeting the doctors." Harper closed her eyes. "Why?" No answer came. Just static. Around her, survivors gathered, shivering and silent. They had no weapons, no plan. Just blood on their hands and fear in their hearts. Someone would pay for this. But for now, all they could do was survive. The world leaders met in a dark room with no windows. Smoke rose from burning cities far away, but inside, the only fire was in their eyes. General Brian Collins sat at the end of the table. He was old, but his voice was still sharp like a blade. He had retired years ago, but now they needed him again. "We don't fight like they do," he said. "They're not trying to take land or resources. They want to kill our healers." A woman in a suit frowned. "Then we send more doctors?" Collins shook his head. "No, we send something new." He stood up and walked to the screen on the wall. With one tap, he showed a list of names. Men and women, some soldiers, some medics, all trained to do both. These people can fight and save lives at the same time. If the enemy wants medics, we'll give them medics, but not just any medics, ones who can kill too. Some in the room looked unsure. Others started to nod. The idea spread fast. Within days, teams were formed. They called themselves the Reapers. Not ghosts or shadows or wolves. Reapers. The ones who came when death was near. One of the first recruits was Mark Ellis. He used to be a medic in the Army, then a field doctor on Titan. Now he held a gun in one hand and a trauma kit in the other. Another was Jessica Morris, a nurse who had saved a whole school during an attack on Mars. She didn't cry when she saw what war could do. She just worked faster. Dr. Lisa Harper was asked to join too. She had seen her clinic burn. She had watched friends die. She didn't say yes right away. But when she did, she brought knowledge the others didn't have. "They don't care about soldiers," she told them. "They hunt those who help the hurt. That means us." Training began. They learned how to fight in hospitals, how to move through ruins without being seen, how to protect the weak while staying alive themselves. They didn't wear shiny armor or fancy suits. They wore simple gear, stitched together for survival. And when word came that Titan was next, they were ready, not to hide, not to run, to reap. The Reapers landed on Titan under cover of darkness. The sky was thick with clouds and cold, and the ground was hard like stone. They moved in silence, boots crunching on frozen dust. Their mission was clear: protect the hospital at all costs. Intel said the aliens would strike within 48 hours. The Reapers had to be ready. Mark Ellis walked ahead with a rifle slung low. He used to carry only a medkit. Now he carried both. Behind him, Jessica Morris checked her gear. She didn't say much, but her hands were always busy, cleaning tools, checking bandages, making sure every needle was sharp. Dr. Lisa Harper followed close. This wasn't her first war, but it was the first time she was walking into one on purpose. They reached the hospital just before dawn. It was quiet. Too quiet. The staff had been evacuated except for a few volunteers who refused to leave their patients. "We'll set up inside and out," Collins said. "Make them think it's just another soft target." They laid traps in the halls, rigged doors to lock from a distance, and placed explosives near the entrances. Fake blood was painted on walls. Broken beds were left in place. "Let them think. They've already won," Ellis said. They didn't have to wait long. The attack came at night. Bright green beams cut through the sky. Explosions tore open the outer walls. Figures dropped from ships, tall, armored, moving with cold precision. The Virex were here. Inside, the Reapers waited. As soon as the first alien stepped inside, the fight began. A grenade rolled down the hall. Smoke filled the air. Shots rang out. Ellis took down 2 enemies with quick bursts. Morris dragged a wounded guard behind cover while firing with her other hand. Harper stayed with the patients. She held a scalpel like a knife, ready to defend those who couldn't run. The battle raged for what felt like hours. The hospital shook with every blast. Glass shattered. Lights died, but the Reapers didn't break. Morris pulled a child from a burning room. Ellis covered the stairs, keeping more aliens from reaching the upper floors. Harper patched a deep wound in a soldier's leg, then handed him a gun. When the last Virex fell, the silence was louder than the fight. Smoke rose from the ruins. Bodies lay still. The Reapers stood, bruised, bleeding, but alive. Outside, dawn broke over Titan. They had won, not just the fight, but something bigger. For the first time, the world saw the truth. The medics weren't helpless, and the Reapers had only just begun. After the battle on Titan, the Reapers took what they could from the dead aliens. Not weapons, not trophies. Dr. Lisa Harper worked through the night in a makeshift lab set up inside the ruined hospital. Her hands were tired, but her mind was sharp. She studied blood samples, broken tech, anything that might tell them who they were really fighting. What she found chilled her. The Virex weren't just another alien race looking for land or power. They were something else. A hive mind built around one twisted belief. Only the strong should survive. They didn't see humans as enemies at first. They saw us as sick. "They think healing is a disease," Harper said the next morning, voice low. "To them, saving lives is like spreading poison." Mark Ellis sat with his back against a broken wall, cleaning his rifle. He looked up. "So that's why they hit the hospitals?" Harper nodded. "Yes, every doctor, every nurse, every aid worker, and to them we're infecting the natural order." Jessica Morris clenched her jaw. "Then they're worse than animals." But it got worse. From the data, they learned the Virex had taken prisoners. Not soldiers, not fighters. Doctors. Some were still alive, held in labs hidden deep in space. "They're studying them," Harper said, "trying to understand why. We keep helping each other when it makes us weak to them." Collins listened in silence. Then he stood. "We find those labs. We get our people out." It wasn't easy. The Virex moved fast and left little behind. But Harper found a clue, a genetic marker in the blood of the fallen aliens. It pointed to Uranus. A mission was planned. Small team. Fast in, fast out. Ellis. Morris and Harper went with Collins. They flew through space in a stolen scout ship hiding in the cold dark between moons. When they arrived, they found it. A floating base made of metal and ice. No flags. No lights. Just a prison. Inside, the halls were quiet. Too quiet. Cells lined the walls. Most were empty, but in one they found an old man, Dr. Samuel Green, a virologist taken weeks ago. He looked scared, but still thinking. "They tried to change me," he whispered. "Tried to make me stop caring." Harper knelt beside him. "Did they succeed?" He shook his head. "No. But they made me watch things I'll never forget." As they helped him up, Collins frowned. "Like what?" Green looked at them, eyes full of pain. "They showed me what happens when compassion dies." The return to Earth was not a victory. Dr. Samuel Green had warned them. The Virex had done more than capture doctors. They had created something worse. A virus. It spread through touch, through breath, through blood. It didn't kill quickly. First it changed people. Made them cold. Made them stop caring. Compassion faded. Empathy died. And then the body gave out. By the time the Reapers landed, the infection had already begun to spread. Cities shut down. Hospitals filled with the sick. Some patients were violent, others just empty-eyed and silent. Dr. Lisa Harper worked non-stop trying to find a cure. But for every life she saved, 2 more fell. Mark Ellis stood guard outside her lab, rifle slung low, eyes scanning the streets. Once safe zones became battlegrounds overnight. People fought over medicine, over food, over clean water. Jessica Morris led a team into a quarantined zone in Chicago. Their mission? Retrieve a prototype vaccine stored in an abandoned research center. "We go in fast," she said. "We get what we need, and we leave." But things never go as planned. Inside the city, the air was thick with fear. Buildings stood, dark and broken. The streets echoed with moans and distant gunfire. As they moved through an old hospital, they found signs of what had happened. Bodies on stretchers, IV lines still attached. Nurses frozen mid-step, arms outstretched. Then they heard it. A cough. Weak, but real. In a back room, they found Daniel Cruz. He used to be one of them, a medic who went missing weeks ago. Now, his skin was pale, his eyes dull. "He's infected," one of the team whispered. Morris stepped closer. "Danny, can you hear me?" He blinked slowly. "I don't feel right." They had rules. No one showing symptoms came back. But Cruz wasn't just a name on a list. He was one of them. "We can't leave him," she said. "We also can't risk bringing him back," another replied. She looked at Cruz, then at the case of vaccines beside her. One choice could save hundreds, or doom them all. The plan was bold and dangerous. The Reapers would go to Uranus, but not to hide or run. They would strike at the heart of the Virex command ship. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about stopping the virus before it spread beyond control. If the hive mind could be broken, the war might end. Dr. Lisa Harper studied the stolen data from Dr. Green. She found something strange. The Virex didn't just fear weapons. They feared emotion. They couldn't understand it. "What if we show them what they can't understand?" she asked. Mark Ellis looked up from his gear. "You mean like a message?" "Not just words," she said. "Real moments, people helping each other, crying, holding hands, healing." Jessica Morris nodded slowly. "Something they've never felt." General Collins gave the order. The mission was on, a captured alien. Ship was modified to look like a medical supply vessel. The Reapers dressed in stolen uniforms. They carried medicine, bandages, and explosives. As they approached the command ship, tension filled the air. One mistake, one wrong word, and they'd be dead. They docked without trouble. Inside, the halls were cold and silent. The walls pulsed with soft blue light. Alien tech hummed like a heartbeat. Once inside, the team split up. Some planted charges near key systems. Others searched for prisoners. Harper and Ellis went deep into the core, where they found thousands of humans locked away in glass cells. Some were weak, others barely alive. But there was something else. A control room filled with screens showing every attack, every hospital burned, every medic killed. This was the mind of the enemy. Harper connected the data drive. She uploaded everything. Videos of human kindness, of mothers hugging their kids, soldiers helping enemies, strangers giving food to the poor. Ellis watched as the screens changed. The Virex monitors flickered. Confusion spread through the system. "What is this?" one alien asked another. "Why do they help each other? It makes no sense." Then came silence. The hive mind paused. Its thoughts slowed. It tried to process what it had never seen. Empathy. Collins gave the order. "Now. Blow it all." The charges detonated. Alarms screamed. The ship shook. The Reapers ran. As they escaped, the command ship cracked open like an egg. Fire spilled into space. And somewhere inside, the Virex learned something new. Fear. The Virex command ship broke apart in silence, fire dancing in the cold, dark of space. Pieces of metal and glass floated like stars born too late. The Reapers watched from their escape craft as the heart of the enemy turned to dust. No one cheered, not at first. They had seen too much death to celebrate this kind of end. As they flew back to Earth, reports came in. The remaining Virex ships were pulling back. Some vanished into deep space. Others just stopped moving. Without their hive mind, core, they had no orders, no purpose. The war was over, but the world was still broken. Cities lay in ruins. Millions were dead. Many more were sick. Hospitals stood empty or burned. Even with the enemy gone, the pain stayed. Daughter Lisa Harper returned. To work the next day. There was no time to rest. She moved through clinics filled with the wounded, hands steady, eyes tired. The vaccine they had taken from Chicago helped, but it wasn't enough. Healing would take years. Mark Ellis stayed by her side, not as a soldier, now, but as someone who knew what it meant to fight for life. Jessica Morris went back to Mars, where she opened a new hospital. Small, quiet, built from scrap and hope. General Collins retired for good this time. He didn't want medals or speeches. He wanted peace. And for the first time in years, he thought maybe that peace could last. Years passed. The Reapers became stories told in the dark, warnings to enemies who might come again. Statues were built, names were carved into stone. On Mars, a statue stood tall near the edge of a red cliff. It showed a figure holding both a rifle and a medkit. Beneath it, simple words were carved. When they came for the healers, the harvest came for them. Dr. Harper visited every year. She never said much. She just stood and remembered those who fought, not for glory, but for the right to save lives. The wind blew across the plains. The sky turned orange with sunset. And somewhere far away, a child walked into a clinic for the first time, healthy and whole, because the Reapers had made sure he could.